All right, it is 7:02 p.m., 7:03 p.m. It is June 15th. (2022), and it is we do have Public Works Director Tanya Moore, and my internet is unstable again, so if I get knocked off again, Tanya will be hopefully be able to answer some questions. But I'm going to open the floor. I believe there's probably some questions, concerns, and discussion points from last night's meeting.
Of course. I will ask just a couple of basic
questions. I'll go ahead and turn it over or just open it up for any questions.
Okay. Sure. I'll ask a couple basic questions, and then I'll probably have more thoughts depending on what else you have to say. But I heard Andy Williams was out looking at the intersection by me today, and he said some engineer is potentially going to be looking at that. And he said it wasn't somebody that normally looks at it, so I didn't know who that was or when to expect a timeline to hear feedback from that. And are you guys also going to have John Fitzgibbons look at it?
John's in Honduras right now, but when he comes back, we'll make sure he takes a look at it. But I know Tanya is having lunch tomorrow with an engineer that may be able to take a look at that intersection. I know that I talked to Andy as well this morning, and he said he took his trailer out there and believes that there.
Is he breaking up for anyone else or just me?
Yeah, no.
The southwest and the southeast in order to.
You broke up there.
You want to take this? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
He's
okay. The joys of internet and having so many people on your bandwidth. Yeah, we're not going to be utilizing Kinlaw Associates because they have not, based on the data, determined that there's any necessity for any traffic modification devices. So Tanya's going to be meeting with somebody tomorrow that will be looking at the intersection of 9th and Oakdale. Because my concern last night was, number one, you never know how these meetings are going to go. Based on the previous conversations that we had with the residents, from the first public information hearing to the second one to LRP to the town council, it's seemed consistent with the closures of everything south of 6th. Everybody that was east of Magnolia started coming out of the woodworks and just trying to get their opinions heard, which I completely understand. I sympathize with, which is why I brought up the possibility of maybe having the June 28th as an option for a additional discussion point, and then bringing it back on July, since it's going to be brought back in July anyway. But I know the council members just wanted to stop kicking this can down the road and actually do something. And that do something was the mock-up that Councilmember Martini came up with, which was doing a left turn only on Oakdale on 9th going north, and a left turn only going south on Oakdale on 9th. So you're going to have the break apart there. Gloria, on a motorcycle?
I don't know. It sounds like you're in a racetrack.
Yeah. And I understand that, the frustration with you guys was you're on Zoom and you're listening to all this, but for public comment, the minute we open up for Zoom, it just starts to go off the rails, which kind of did last night when we didn't stick to the decorum of the 3 minutes, but we do what we can to make sure that we're giving everybody the same amount of time. But last night they really want to hammer this thing out and get something started, which I understand the frustration from the residents and also from the accounts that I've been talking this for about this since teen. So, the thing that they came up with again was to shut down a part of 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue, and then do the left turn onlys on Oakdale and 9th. My concern there, and same thing with Tanya, and I was passing a note to Chief, was, can we get 2 cars to take a left and 2 cars to take a left going south? And that's what Tanya's going to be looking at as far as from an engineering standpoint, is that feasible?
Right.
Not only from a signage standpoint, but also from a barrier standpoint. We're looking at various barriers that we can possibly put up that aren't aesthetically unpleasing and or able to promote, like if there's an EMS emergency or something like that. So she's working up that plan. The additional engineer that we are going to be talking to tomorrow. So yeah, so there's 12th and Chase, 7th, 8th, and I'm unstable again.
You're back now, though. You're okay now.
But yeah, you never know what's going to happen at any town council meeting.
Right. So a couple of things just based on people that, you know, I've talked to is, and I understand council does what council does at the meeting. I mean, you know, I've been to enough of them to understand. That being said, a lot of people, other people don't understand. They're like, this wasn't on the agenda. I mean, it was on the agenda to discuss it, but the proposed plan that was brought up, Bill Martini did talk to me about it on Monday, but he told me he wasn't going to move forward with it when I last spoke with him on Monday. And so he knew I was getting ready to message a lot of people about it. And then I didn't give anyone a heads up that that alternative might be thrown out there because I didn't think it was going to be. I think we lost Robert again. Is he frozen for you guys, or can you guys hear me?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Okay, just checking. Should I wait for him to come back?
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay, your just
Yeah.
face is frozen. Okay, well, your eyes are closed in your picture, but that's all right. But anyways, so I didn't throw that idea out to anyone because he said he wasn't going to present it. And I mean, I understand what happens at councils happens at councils. To say I was frustrated at home would be the understatement of the year, I will say. But I already, when I talked to, for example, Mrs. Yanni's, okay, so that's Jody and Nelson Yanni. They live on the southwest. No, sorry, am I saying that right? They live on the corner of 7th and Bessie. They are on the northwest corner. She went out door to door yesterday to try to talk to people up in their area to see what kind of feedback they could get. She went to 15 homes. 6 were not home, so she didn't get to speak with them. She talked to 3 people. Not all of them were on Bessie Street and 7th. A couple were there was one on Oakdale, and I believe one somewhere else. Maybe it was just 7th Street, but not on the far east end. And we had got 3 more people that said they were in favor of this idea. I did have another scenario that I talked with Martini about, which I will send it to you guys. I think I've sent it to you, Nancy, right? The one by Joe Tenzar's house near you.
Yes, we discussed it. I haven't seen a map or anything, but we discussed.
Okay, I'll send it to you because I'm gonna forward it to you guys anyway. But so, and I know he disappeared, right?
Yes.
I'll say it again, but let me go ahead and send it real quick. Give me 1 second to do that. I'll send it to Tanya and Robert. And then I can send it to Nancy. Anyways, I was trying hard to find a way that we could still have and I'll say this to Robert when he comes back too, but because I know it might take him a minute and I want to still say it while I'm thinking of it, but I was trying to find a way that would still give everyone on Oakdale and Magnolia the closures that they wanted without, he says he's texting me too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. I'll wait a sec. I can wait, but I'll say it so Nancy can hear. And I sent the picture to you too on your cell phone, Nancy.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Gloria. I can see you're on.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead. You can talk if you want. I mean.
Oh, no, go right ahead. I'm listening to everything you say. This is a topic I'm interested in.
Okay. Because your hand is raised, so I didn't know if
Yes, I do want to speak, but I would really love to hear what you're saying. So please feel free to.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. Since I don't have your phone number, I look like crap right now because I was at a 90-degree playground, but I will turn my camera on for a minute so I can show you on the screen what I'm. Oops, hang on. I gotta figure out how to do this. I don't turn my screen on very often.
I don't know how to turn my screen on either.
Okay, so this is a map. Oh crap, hang on. Let me turn my brightness down. That should fix it. Give me a second. All right.
Oh, it's, yeah, there we go.
Okay. So this is so Gloria can see it because I don't have her cell number. So this, the 12th Street, I have a question mark by it because there was a lot of people that were going back and forth whether they wanted 12th Street. So that is 12th Street at the bottom. It is still showing Oakdale and Magnolia closed at the top, sorry, because there was a lot of consensus. We have over 30 homes in my list of people that I spoke to that wanted the closures on Magnolia and Oakdale for sure. I didn't have any kickback from anybody that didn't want it on those two streets. However, I knew there was a lot of people, and I know, Gloria, you're on 6th Avenue because I have a map that I look at people's names, but
Yeah,
so there were a lot of people on Bessie that weren't wanting it. One of the big concerns that I had been hearing from the neighbors I spoke with there, as well as Jody Yannis had been going and talking to all these people, was their concerns about emergency management. I did explain to Jody Yannis that our fire contract for fire management and also our contract for the ambulatory services, both are located out of Ocoee. So most of the time when we were having to have ambulatory services or fire services respond, they would be coming from the north, from Ocoee, I guess, unless they were out on another call would be my assumption. And Robert or Tanya can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And then I was explaining to them the ways that they would be able to get in, because this was, discussed at length over the last 5 years, that being able to get emergency management services in there was, critical. So when I talked to Bill Martini, I had made a suggestion that if the Bessie people, and I'm just saying Bessie because I'm too lazy to say street, but if the Bessie people wanted to keep their Bessie Street open, then what about doing closures here? And it would be one at the bottom of Bessie by Joe Tenzar's house, which I did speak with him about it to see if he would be okay with that happening next to him. And he was. And then also closing it on 7th Street between, I'm going to turn my video back off because I look like a bum. But
Oh, no, you don't. You're fine.
I'm all sunblocked and sweaty. But anyways, so I said, what about closing it by Joe Tenzar's home? And then also but on 7th Street between Bessie and Magnolia, which would be just to the left of Mrs. Yanni's property on Bessie Street. And I will tell you, her first words were, we wouldn't like that. We don't want to have to make a left on 6th. So she immediately, and then she would live next to where this would happen. And I said, well, I mean, I understand that, but this was an effort to keep it open for the residents on Bessie that wanted it. And then it would also have it open for the people in the upper block, which, I mean, you only have, technically you have only 5 houses that face 7th. There are 7 lots, but one of the lots is owned by that whole block up there. I'm assuming for lake access, I don't know. And then another one is also, I believe, vacant on the one side of the street. And on the other side of 7th, you only have a couple of people. The Levines live up in that corner, and they were in favor of doing the project, which is why I had the little map with all the stars and whatever. So I talked to Joe first and Mrs. Yannis about it first because it was next to their homes. And then I did talk with some other people about it, and everyone was still, I didn't talk to Bessie Street people because I don't have their phone numbers, and unfortunately I'm not in Florida to go to their houses. But people were in support of this as a potential compromise. And I did talk to Bill Martini about it. I talked to Andy about it today, but I wasn't expecting last night to go haywire. So it wasn't something I threw out there in that situation.
Well, Robert's back on the line now. I think he's just
Okay.
muted, but, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the direction they gave us was to proceed forward with Martini's
Oh, I know that.
recommendation for now, and so I don't know. A resolution was asked to be drafted relative to that.
Right.
So Robert, is there a way for them to request a modification at this point?
I mean, I'm not asking for a modification. I'm saying I have not talked to that many people yet, but I know you guys are already going to have emails coming your way with people who are very concerned about making the left-hand turns out onto 6 from the upper loop of our quadrant, which is what I'm now calling
Mhm.
that. And that they would definitely prefer the old idea over this one. And that a lot of people are going to be asked that this to be discussed again, either at the upcoming council workshop, because a lot of the people aren't happy with the result of last night's meeting. So the reason I'm telling you guys about this alternative is because I thought it might be some sort of compromise that if it comes back to that and it being workshopped again, that maybe this is an alternative that could make some of the people on Bessie Street happy.
Yeah, and sorry, internet. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're a
Okay.
little freezy, but I can hear you.
Well, I'm on not Wi-Fi now. I'm on my cell, so hope it works. Again, any town council meeting, we believe we know what's going to happen, but then again, we don't know what's actually going to happen at some of these meetings. And unfortunately, again, we provide the data and what's been presented at the previous workshops and meetings, and they make the decisions and we have to follow those decisions. So I don't know what else can be done from an Oakdale perspective or a resident perspective. I know that we have our marching orders to do exactly what was directed last night. So we'll do that. And then test it out for the 3 months after we actually implement it. But yeah, I mean,
I think probably my question was going to be, I came expecting to hear a conversation about the closure of 6th Avenue. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Martini drops this plan. And then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, now how's this going to impact? Because I have never seen it, never heard of it, didn't receive any notification. And then all of a sudden, Mandy makes a motion and it's gone. And I haven't even had a chance to consider it. And this was supposed to be a resident initiated thing. And so the process is what bothered me probably more than anything else.
May I speak for a moment?
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I was on the Zoom meeting yesterday and I listened to the town council meeting, but I really had difficulty hearing well. It seemed that when people were speaking in the microphone, there was some type of reverberation, so I couldn't hear clearly. So could someone summarize what Mr. Martini's final proposal was? I was trying to listen, but I really never did catch it.
Robert, I have the diagram.
right,
Do you want me to open it and share my screen?
Well, the problem is I'm on my cell phone, so I don't know if I can do the security settings to allow you to share your screen.
Gotcha.
But the time frame is this. Councilmember Martini came up with this plan where, again, you'd shut off 8th and then a portion of 7th, and then have the left turn on 9th and going north and a left turn going south. And this was presented to staff and town council, I believe, was it Monday, Tanya?
Yes.
And the email, yeah. Here's the picture. Can you guys
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, and I have it in email format. So if you text me, I can send it over to you as far as the updates on the council meeting last night. So again, this came up, and, it came up as an option. Councilmember Davitt decided that, he wanted to vet it a little bit more and then utilize the June 28th town council workshop to discuss it and then bring it back on. We can't see it, Brandy. It's blacked out, but I can email it to you, Gloria.
Okay. Give you my,
So
oh, you have my
yeah,
email.
again,
Mr. Smith.
If not, just text it to me and I'll email it to you tonight. But again,
okay. What is your number? I don't have your number to text.
Okay, it's 407-797-5004.
5004. Okay, thank you. I will text you my email address. Thank you.
So again, like any subject, things come up at the last minute. It was submitted to town council by a council member as a, I guess, pseudo compromise, and they considered that and they consider it to be a viable option. And so the direction to staff is to implement that option, and then it'll be coming back for a resolution in the July 12th town council meeting. We'll test it out for 3 months after implementation, and then 6 months after that. If it's not working, again, there's always the option that's still out there to close all the access points off of 6th Avenue.
Is it possible, if there's enough kickback, that they can reverse the decision and decide to workshop it in July, at the end of June?
There's no workshop on June 28th right now. And unless the mayor requests it, I don't believe there will be one. And I know Councilmember Martinez is going to be out of.
Yeah, when's his cruise? It's in the workshop or it's the July meeting?
No, his cruise, he leaves, I think he left yesterday, or actually today. So we won't be back until I think
Okay.
And Robert, just for your information, I did send Gloria that map from what was approved last night, so you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think the mindset of town council was they didn't want to keep punting this and then have a long discussion and then nothing get happened, at the June 28th workshop and then the July town council meeting. So they're making, progress as, they see it as a compromise. So we'll try to implement that. We'll see how it works and go from there. And again, if it's continued to be an issue as far as cut through traffic, the traffic counts, speeding, then it's an easy way to not fix it, but we're not being pot committed, like I said last night, to a certain plan. It can fluctuate after that 3-month time frame or a 6-month time frame. So there's still opportunities to make adjustments, but we're directed right now to make the adjustments as directed by town council last night.
May I make another comment, please?
It's an open forum. Any comment?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, as I said, I was on the Zoom meeting yesterday and I had my hand up, but no one ever called on me, or else I didn't hear it. So I didn't get a chance to make my thoughts known. So may I just express my feelings now?
Yeah.
And I
be recorded, and just so you know, from a policy standpoint, the council for town council meetings, not workshops. For town council meetings, the only public comment is taken at town hall and not via Zoom.
didn't know that, or else I would have attended.
No worries.
Or written in advance to be read into the record.
Correct.
Okay,
So
I got you.
if you send it, and then we can go ahead and read it for the record, or just send it off to town council members, which I think I sent Brandy every single email that I received relative to this subject matter. But yeah, in the future, you can either just send us an email record for you. Some people are very shy when it comes to speaking in public, which we're more than happy to. your letter or your thoughts or your opinions on the record for you. But yeah, just feel free to just let us know and we'll go ahead and put it in there.
Okay, well,
So you can let your, so.
okay, well, thank you so much for the information. I'll do better. And I just wanted to express a couple of thoughts, which I say these things respectfully because I respect everyone's right to their own opinion and their own feelings about the matter. My feeling is that I believe any blockages would result in just shifting the problem from one group of people to another group of people. And I think it interferes with the natural flow of the traffic. And I am totally against any closures. I'm concerned that there was no study done. It sounded like from what I heard in the meeting yesterday, the 85th percentile data was not considered. And then there's been no engineering studies. And then Mr. Martini just said off the cuff that he didn't believe additional signage would help, which I think is where it should begin. Because I am on Oakdale all the time, and I made a personal note to see if I could see any signage that said 15 miles an hour. And I saw one sign that was almost totally obscured by trees. And I think if there were visible signs with a speed limit and then watch for children right underneath the speed limit and in regular spacing, frequent spacing, that I do think that would help. And I do think people tend to abide by speed limit rules when they're in residential areas. That's, again, my personal opinion. And
Right.
I respect everyone's opinion to disagree with me.
And typically, when we have these council meetings, sometimes like, Mr. Collins last night started facing the crowd and speaking to the crowd, but I always try to correct them to speak to council because they're the ones that actually make as neighbors, we can disagree, but, and to clarify, as far as the engineering study and stuff like that.
Yes, I think scientific that's definitely needed.
Yeah, well, an engineering study will not justify what we're doing. And the reason for that is that in 2018, again, we had Kimley Horn Associates do the origin destination cut through traffic study, and it didn't justify any modifications to the flow in internal roadways.
Well, maybe that's the answer then. Maybe there shouldn't be. That's what I think is true, that there shouldn't be any modifications.
Yeah, and that's your opinion. And again, that's what I think the people that are against closures are focusing on is the data that states, okay, everybody's within the 89th percentile, 85th percentile, which means that you shouldn't make any changes. And then there's a perception thing to where, I don't live in Oakdale, Magnolia. I don't have to live with this every day. And the residents that see this every day disagreed with the data that has been provided, as far as the aggressive drivers, the amount of speed, so on and so forth. So that's why it was a resident initiated proposal. Me as, I can't make a recommendation based on the data. So that's why I said it was a resident initiated proposal. And so when they're saying, okay, well, we'll go back and we'll have an engineer take a look at this. There's no engineer that's going to say this is necessary, because again, for us to put in a stop sign or to lower a speed limit, we need an engineer study in order to justify it. Because if our officers write a ticket and somebody brings it to court, I have to go there and argue and say, listen, we had an engineer take a look at this based on the conditions and A through Z, this is why this speed limit is the way it is. And if you don't have an engineer study that, then that ticket would go away and I would have to remove those stop signs or that speed limit and increase the speed limit. And I know this because we've had this issue come up before. I've actually had to go to traffic court and make the argument to the judge on, I think it was Forest and Second, that was justified because of the flooding issues that we had, because of the site issues that we had, and the speeding issues that have occurred. So, there's no going to support what we're doing right now. It's just based on residents' perception that live it every day, see it every day, and the council's reacting to that with the best possible plan that they think they can promote,
I do have-
which was the compromise that.
Go ahead, you can
So,
finish.
No, and again, staff works underneath the authority of the council, so they gave us the authority to move in the direction that they decided. And again, we'll see how it works, and if amendments need to be made in the future, then we'll see what happens. But go ahead, Brandon.
I would like to say that, what you're talking about is the Kimley Horn study that was done regarding the traffic. That being said, the police have also put out their counters that clock the speeds. And even though a lot of the people are going under the 19 miles an hour, we have for example, if they did it on a 2-week phase or a 4-week phase that they had those sitting out there, we had over 900 cars going over 20. And I'm not sure how many speed limit signs there are. I couldn't tell you that if I tried. What I do know is I've had 3 neighbors move off the street. I live on the corner of 9th and Oakdale. And I have had 3 neighbors leave the neighborhood because of the traffic issues. And the signs you're talking about, like children at play, people have bought those yellow fluorescent ones that look like shaped like a little human, and it sticks out and holding a sign, children at play or whatever, and somebody's was ran over. My husband and I are both scientists by degree. I have security cameras that capture when people are driving by, and we know how to calculate when it crosses point A, point B from where it's located on our cameras. We've measured the distance, and we've calculated how fast the cars go by our house. I've lived there going on 7 years now. And I know, and Robert doesn't live there, and Robert has to say what he sees, what he hears, but I do live on Oakdale Street, and we have this has been going back since 2017 when my daughter started crawling. That's when I became concerned, because people run our stop signs. I've got videos of people running my stop sign, like a lot. We've got people that come up to the intersection, gun the gas, and throw up dirt to go through the intersection. We do have people running our stop signs, at least a couple every day. I can be standing out there talking with my neighbors at the corner. Nancy was in my yard one day when a Jeep came by and did that. And she used to live actually on 9th Street and moved up to where she is now. And we have all witnessed people running the stop signs and flying by our houses daily. And it got worse the second year I was there, which would have been 2017, which is when I went into council and, brought this all up. And then the Kimley Horn study was done in 2018. And then we lucked out with COVID in a way. I mean, it was a blessing for the neighborhood because the traffic reduced. But we've tried everything. The reality is, if the police is there, yes, they do slow down because they see the police before they approach them, but it's not feasible for them to be there all the time. And I mean, my husband and I are out in that yard. I don't have any landscaping yet because there's always proposed projects in front of my house. But that being said, we're out in our yard 3 to 4 hours a day, most of the year. And it's, from our perspective, no, it's not perceived. I mean, I've got the security footage. I can hand you all day long to show it. And so do all the other neighbors. So we've been trying to get this taken care of for 4 to 5 years. I mean, I understand the concerns for the people on the other streets. We originally were just asking, even in the early workshops 4 years ago, 5 years ago, as well as this year in April, to only close Oakdale. But the reality of that is, if we close just Oakdale, the traffic's just going to move over to Magnolia or Bessie or somewhere else, and they're still going to cut through. So, I mean, it's definitely a speeding issue. And since now there's new families that have moved in on Oakdale Street alone, we have 11 or 10 families with kids starting kindergarten this year. And I have to teach my daughter, it doesn't matter, you know, you normally teach a kid there's a stop sign, you know, don't cross the street, wait till the car is stopped or whatever. I've got to teach my kid they don't even obey the stop signs because they don't. So I just want, I mean, I know Gloria hasn't probably been on a lot of the older meetings, so I just wanted to share my perspective because we've been trying to get something done for 6-7 years, you know, and I was actually one of the ones I've gone around and talked to neighbors, knocked door to door, tried to talk to as many as I could before these meetings as things were changing, because, you know, when it was before it headed to LRP, we were only talking about Oakdale Street. And then it started being Oakdale and let's close more of them. And there was a lot of scenarios thrown out there. But we want to make it the least impactful to everybody. I think you have a driveway that, if I'm not mistaken, Gloria, your driveway faces both streets and it's like a U?
Yeah, I'm on
Right.
the corner of 6th Avenue and Bessie, and I do have a semicircular driveway. That's
Right.
correct.
Right. Because one of the things that I thought of, and Nancy and I actually spoke with this weeks ago, I said, I wonder if there's, you know, any people who would be, I know there's the one, your house has the U-shaped driveway, the next street over, the house on 6th has one driveway facing 6th and one drive facing, I believe it's Magnolia. That one's currently for sale. And I said, I wonder if this plan would screw any of those people up. And if it did, you know, maybe we could shift the closure down so that they can have their U-shaped driveway and go back out without interfering with their homes. So, you know,
I just have a concern that, that if Bessie is blocked off, then people will see my semicircular driveway and start cutting through my own property.
very good possibility.
I have a concern about that.
Right.
And Mr. Smith, I've lived here for over 30 years, but I want to say like 10 years ago, maybe not that long, weren't there signs on some of the side streets that indicated people should not travel through there between the hours of 7 and 9 or 4 and 6 or something like that?
There was signage that was completely illegal, saying that resident traffic only.
Yeah.
And we had to remove those signs. Orange pointed that out to us, and even Chief took a look at it. He's like, "There's no way we can enforce this," and also it's completely. What's that?
Orange County.
You faded out again. You faded out.
I'll if it, Tanya, I can say it if you want, or you can if you know, but it was Orange County. There was some people who lived outside of the town limits, and they had complained to Orange County that we had signs up that were public roads, and that we weren't allowed to have those signs. And so Orange County was who forced the town to take them down because they were illegal to have up.
So why wouldn't it be illegal to close the streets? It seems closing the streets is worse than restricting traffic during certain hours.
Because we're doing, I assume, but Robert can answer, but I assume it's because we're doing it for everybody. We're not trying to restrict people that are non-residents of the town. But
That's absolutely correct. You cannot make public roadways resident only. But what you can do is close roadways under your own home rule, because these are public streets, but you do have the ability to close these streets, or make adjustments to the method of transportation on these roadways. But what you can't do is just say it's resident only. Number one, it's really hard to enforce. Number two, it's illegal. So that's why we had to remove those signs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, people even thought, okay, I bought one of those license plate covers that says Town of Windermere, that I wouldn't get a ticket, or the officers would know that I lived here. So they were selling out of those things pretty early on. And I'm like,
that's funny, because when we were house hunting it, you guys still had the signs up, and I was worried I was going to get pulled over by the cops for driving up and down the streets checking out houses, actually. Gloria, if you don't mind me asking, because that's a very legitimate concern. When you do come and go from the neighborhood, which way do you normally take? I mean, depending on whether you're going to Ocoee or Orlando.
What, from my driveway?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm turning right, I just pull out of my driveway and turn right, which
Okay,
is easy. But turning left, I pull out onto Bessie and try and turn left onto Bessie from,
Okay.
from Bessie onto Sixth is what I'm trying to say.
right. So
Um,
if you're leaving your home to go to Orlando, you would turn right, like to head to our Publix. But if you're
Yes.
trying to go the other way, you would utilize Bessie and go out 7th to Main or something?
I would, it's easier to go left onto Sixth Avenue from Bessie than it is from my driveway.
Okay,
It would be a much harder turn from my driveway than from Bessie. So I always utilize Bessie if I have to go west on Sixth Avenue.
okay, got you. Yeah, that's a very, and I hadn't thought of that perspective, honestly, but I do know idiots that will cut through a gas station to not hit a red light.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I fully understand that. I mean, I used to live in New Jersey too for a while, so I know what.
Did I?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I noticed that stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's a McDonald's we stop at on Sand Lake, right by Turkey Lake Road. And when we're done at the McDonald's, I go out the back way so that I don't have to go back onto Sand Lake if I'm heading down Turkey Lake towards like SeaWorld. So I do it because I'm going to McDonald's. I wouldn't do it otherwise, but I do know people do it. So that's one, I'll chew on that one. I can understand your concerns. So the only other thing I would say is that, and I've talked with this about other neighbors, like I said, and I know you guys are going to be getting feedback. So, I mean, I'm sure you realize that too, without even me saying that. I do know that a lot of people, I've talked with a lot of people already today. And if you're leaving and you're going up Oakdale and you're trying to make a left onto 6, that's going to be near impossible with how close it is to the roundabout.
Mhm.
You are talking 20, 30 feet. On the same token, when I leave town, and I'll be honest with you, Gloria, I use all the streets to get out up there. I use every single one of them every day.
Yes.
My
That's why
husband,
I'm concerned it might ruin the flow of natural.
Right.
normal
Now,
traffic if any
my
street is
husband,
closed.
right. My husband does go to the roundabout, and I was under the perception it would add 10 minutes to our travel time. I found out I was wrong. I had to eat crow on that. I did time it. And for me, it added 2 minutes to go to the roundabout, even though I thought it would be longer. But I mean, I was willing to sacrifice it for the good of the neighborhood. But regardless, when you go out 7th Street and you try to make a right, for example, to go to Publix,
Mhm.
there is a bend there. And it is hard to see around it a lot of times because people start speeding up at that point. So if I go up to 7th and try to go to the Publix on Apopka Vineland, sometimes it's hard to get out there because you just don't feel like you have the clearance to see around that bend a car's coming at you.
Exactly. I know exactly where you mean. That's exactly.
Right. So one of the things that a few of us have talked about is that if you can't really make a left safely off of Oakdale onto 6th, and you can't make a very good left off of 7th onto 6th, it's going to cause everyone in our little loop per the current plan to funnel up and out Bessie or Magnolia because they're going to be the other 2 choices. So we're actually forcing more traffic onto those 2 streets in the 600 block, or further down as well. So
Mhm.
that's another, scenario that's played out in all this. So
Mhm.
just to share that thought with you guys. But
Yeah, we're also gonna have to take a look at the intersection of 12th and Chase now with the closure of 12th and Chase to the other lots. Because again, with that stop sign that's there,
Yep.
now you have the ability to take a right and then take a left. So we'll take a look and see if we need to remove those stop signs, which again gets rid of the metering, and opens up gaps between cars. So if you're going on 9th and you're taking a left-hand turn to go down 6th, if you want to go to Horizons West or something like that, there's more gaps. Or if you're taking a right, and then getting to 6th and then going over to Publix, there's again more that you're going to have because there's not that metering because of stop signs. That's something we're going to take a look at.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the stop signs to the south. You've got the stop signs to the north when you get up by Windermere Road or whatever. I mean, I know that might help, but I feel like that the amount of traffic coming both northbound and southbound into the roundabout it's still probably going to be a lot like that because you're getting it from both ends heading east. And I think that's where, even with the change in the metering, because I mean, and I know they might, Gloria and Nancy might not be as familiar with what we're talking about, but I know what you're saying because I've been at a lot of these meetings. But I feel like with the influx coming in from the north and the influx coming from the south, they hit that roundabout. They're still going to be coming out at a pretty regular 1-2-1-2 car out 6 because you're getting it from 2 directions, not just one. But I mean, I get what you're saying, and I hope that helps. But I'm going to be honest. I used to drive in New York City, New Jersey, and I've driven in other countries. I personally probably wouldn't even want to make that left turn. And I know there's a lot of people that are a lot less brazen on the road than I am, because I can have a lead foot and I can merge with the Jersey and New York City people when I need to. And that's some crazy driving up there. But
I mean, I'm having discussions with people that live next to the new development on East 6th Avenue, the Rosser Reserve one, and then the development next to it. You know, they're trying to look for suicide lanes and also for deceleration lanes. But the problem is the cost is going to be borne on those that live within that development, and there's not that many homes, and the cost is just going to be too much for them to bear.
yeah.
So they have to pretty much be buyer beware that if you're trying to take a left out of there, good luck.
Right. That's what they bought and moved into, though, versus us already being here and making a change. So, but yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Gloria, if you were fixing to say something.
Oh, no, I was just listening and I was just acknowledging.
Right.
I was going,
Yeah, gotcha.
Apologize for.
So I just wanted to ask some process things. Robert, you've been so patient. So about town meetings, I haven't been to very many, and I don't always know what the process is. So is it okay if I bring that up now, or Brandy, did you have something else? Or
No, go ahead, hon. Go ahead.
Okay, getting back, basically, when I went in and I sat down, and then after the meeting kind of started and people going up there, I thought, I better put my name up there just in case I need to respond to something. And I did put my name on the list, and but I was never called. So I'm guessing that I missed a time limit to sign your name to the list if you want to speak.
Were you? I didn't see you there last night, Nancy.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah.
I was. Yep.
Were you at the back?
I was probably 3 rows back towards the center.
Closest to the door coming in, Robert, 3 rows back.
Oh yeah, no, because the Frank Chase didn't sign up. The 2 men that spoke up as well didn't up in time. So yeah,
well, that was going to be my question, because I didn't know. Is it okay for me to just go stand in line and then think somewhere? I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
It's not normally. It kind of doesn't go that way, but I'll let Robert talk.
Okay.
The process is this, and again, every meeting is different, but for decorum, typically you sign up prior to 6 p.m. and then you sign in your name and the topic that you want to discuss. And when public comment opens up, which are limited to 3 minutes, the mayor or mayor pro tem will ask you, okay, do you want to speak now or defer to a subject? So typically if there's a subject that you want to speak about that's on the agenda, you would defer, we would do a presentation, and then you open up a comment relating to that certain subject matter. If you just want to make a general comment like around solid waste or something like that, then you would make that at the very beginning and go on your way. But yeah, if you're ever there and you want to speak on a subject and you might get there a little bit late, just let us know. You can come up and hand me a note or something like that, and I can make sure that knows about that. Because again, we had those 2 individuals, actually 3 individuals that came up, and I tried to get the decorum back a little bit last night when I started seeing people line up. Because again, if you're going to stick to that 3 minutes, you have to be fair and equitable to everybody. Mm-hmm. And when you have one person that utilized the entire 3 minutes and you have somebody that utilized only a minute and a half, and then that person with 3 minutes now has 6 minutes, then it becomes a whole issue. But they wanted to hammer it out last night and discuss it with the residents that were there last night. So that's why I think they kind of relaxed those regulations, but typically it's 3 minutes per issue, and then that's it.
Even if you
But
don't
yeah.
think, even if you don't think you want to say something, you should probably put your name down and defer. And then if somebody else has made your point, you can just say, I don't need to go up or something.
Yeah, you can do that, or you can allocate your time to that person. So let's say
Okay.
Brandy, and you want to defer your time to Brandy, you're able to do that.
Okay, all right, well,
But actually have,
that helps me. Okay. The second thing I wanted to, the thing that I found most disturbing, and I started to mention it at the beginning of this meeting, was that I had absolutely no knowledge about Mr. Martini's plan. And so I'm sitting there and as I think I mentioned, I'm trying to digest, okay, what did he say? How's that going to impact? What is the, it was just all so fast. Is this something that the council members, do they discuss it beforehand? I mean, he already had a map that was shown on the screen, but I mean, did anybody do research? Did they just go, oh, hey, that's a good idea, let's vote on it and then vote? I got the impression that he said, oh, I woke up last night and I just had this idea, and then everybody said, okay, let's go for it. And that just didn't seem very professional to me. And I wanted to ask how they normally come up with their ideas for this, because
Yeah.
we knew nothing about it.
yeah, there was no, so the email was sent out to Dorothy, and the request was to send it out to the council members as a position, not as a where they can talk about it and have a meeting outside the sunshine. So it was like, hey, listen, a position that I'm wanting to take on this date, and please share it with council so they can take a look at it. So nobody discussed it prior to that meeting, and it was discussed at the meeting as an option. And again, we as staff, we have to react to some of these submittals when they're presented.
And I understand that, but I just, well, I understand, I don't understand, but I was just shocked. I was shocked, and I didn't know what to do. And then I couldn't get up and speak, and they already said go. And so I just finally left. I didn't know what else to do. So I guess they have no obligation to get plans out to the residents or anything about this before they vote on it in the council meeting, I guess is my question to you.
Yeah, again, this came Monday. And in all transparency, I was off on Monday. So the first I saw this was on Tuesday, the day of the meeting. And typically what I like to do is get all the information to town council and the residents as early as possible. I think we actually posted this agenda on Wednesday, if not Thursday. So that gives the public, the amount of time to take a look, digest.
The agenda that I got only
And
had the map regarding the closures all up and down 6th Avenue. That was sent out, I
Correct.
want to say, yeah. But nothing about Mr. Martini's.
Yes, that's again, we received Councilmember Martini's email on Monday, and again, that was not part of the agenda.
Okay, all right, that's, and it doesn't have to be, I guess.
It doesn't have to be, no, and it's at council's discretion whether to, again, say, listen, we want to vet this out, or we believe that's a good compromise, and make the decision at that meeting, which is what they did.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm just going, just so that I get it in writing, I'll be addressing it. You will be on the email along with all the other council members about my concerns about the plan, just so you know, but I will be sending something in.
Oh, we lost him again.
Oh my goodness, did we lose him again?
Yeah, I think he probably heard you before he dropped again. Poor guy.
I'm so sorry. But I think I think that answers my questions. I was just real upset by the time I got home because I wasn't really pleased with how that worked out. So,
Well, I think a lot of people
And
were.
understood. And Nancy, yeah, and again, emailing your thoughts is a lot better because you have, again, there's a paper trail.
okay.
You know, council members get text messages, phone calls, but the best way to make sure that you have a recorded document, because when we get text messages, we have to forward those over to Dorothy to make sure that they're part of the public record.
Mm.
And so sometimes we all of our text messages and there's
Oh, we lost him again, didn't we?
We'll be back on in a minute.
We can't hear you, Tanya.
I think what he was saying is it's better to email Dorothy with your comments and ask them to be part of the record rather than texting and things like that. Right, Robert?
yes, then we can read them for in the record, and or council gets aware of these concerns prior to the meeting. And I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi and my cell service. It's like I'm already on the cruise ship. But yeah, no,
You know, and I have to look at you this way because you're
Yeah.
sideways.
I took a screenshot for fun.
I think we lost him again.
I'm not dancing like that, but I have my tilted. And you're the same way. You're on the side on mine. But again, yeah, any thoughts that you have or positions that you have, make sure you document it in an email and send it out to council members. Not only just to council members, just if there's like a West Orange County issue, then we can send that out to like Commissioner Wilson. We can send it to Mayor Demings. Because again, we're only 2.2 square miles and 3,000 people. And there's issues that are well beyond our small town that it has had a negative impact on us, which is this traffic issue that we're having to deal with. So yes, sending emails is the best way to communicate, and it's going to be pretty much a permanent record when it goes out to council and or staff, and we will respond to those.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
I have another question that popped in my head because I've been thinking about Gloria's situation. So on Oakdale Street, when we were talking about closing off all the streets at 6, I remember at some point someone brought up something about, not that this would work for Gloria. Give me a second, Gloria, my brain will come around.
Okay, okay, go ahead, Dorothy.
But on the left side where it's behind the businesses there, and there's 2 vacant lots at the top end of Oakdale Street. I know somebody said something about putting the ranch fence down that so people couldn't cut through the yard. Now I understand, you know, we couldn't do that for Gloria because she's utilizing an actual driveway. We're not trying to prevent her. We just want to prevent other people. Is there any scenario that would somehow restrict the other traffic from doing that comes to mind for you, Robert?
We would put split rail fence on our right of way, but we would work with the adjacent property owners on that barricade, but a barricade. I know that those 2 properties are owned by one individual, and they have both residential, full commercial for that property. But you know, that was the only area that I would see that people may drive around to try to access 6th Avenue. You know, and that's not to say that, you know, if we put a split rail fence up, I'm sure, you know, some people are like just try to remove it, vandalize it and so on. But, you know, we're trying to do what we can to try to curtail this.
Right.
You know, let's give that. And again, it's going to fluctuate, and maybe it will work. And you know, this is not.
Uh-oh, we lost him again.
I think what he's saying is that we would work with residents on either side of that split rail fencing so that we could ensure that it's very difficult for people to go around.
So people can't trespass on their property. So in a situation like Gloria's, she needs to be able to utilize that driveway. Not that you guys want to spend tax dollars on this, but I just want to throw this out there. So when we talked about emergency management, the short-term solution is the split rail fence. The long-term solution, there's been a caveat of things thrown out there, fences that the fire chiefs and whatnot can drive over. And I forget the word for them. I always say it wrong. The balusters, what are those things called?
Bollards.
Bollards? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bollards.
So would it be possible to have, now I don't know what kind of bollards, I hate that word, that you guys know about, but like, for example, when I worked in New York City, we had bollards that I worked at 26 Federal Plaza, and they were completely surrounding the building, and more so after 9/11. But anyways, they could push a button and they drop down into the ground.
Yeah.
So would that be something that could be installed, for example, on Gloria's property, that she'd have a button to let herself in, but it not be open when, if she started having a problem with people coming through? Like in the right of way, not necessarily on her land, because she has right of way that abuts 6.
Yeah. You mean like a button where it just drops down?
Well, that's how they work. I know. I didn't say it was cheap. I didn't say, I don't know. It's not like this is my area of expertise. I've went out and researched these things. I'm just asking if there's something that could be in the right of way by her driveway to prevent other people from going through her driveway and using it as a cut around.
Yes,
But
thanks,
still allow
Randy.
her the access to her driveway when she needed it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I mean,
Andy. I love the idea of a button.
I know, and it does exist. I'm not saying it's cheap, but I know it exists.
Yes, let's do that. Can you make that happen, Mr. Smith?
no, mostly like, let's say we close off 6 or something like that. For temporary structure, we put in the split rail fence. Then bollards or crash gates are something that we would look at too. And a crash gate isn't, you completely blow through it or anything like that. You just bump it and it's able to open up. And same thing happens with gated communities. You just bump a gate, it's going to open. So, those are things we would look at as permanent solutions that would still give us access in case there is an emergency.
Mhm.
And there's things that we utilize, in other communities and other jurisdictions that we can try out. With the bollards, we're looking at implementing those on Brick Main to make sure that when we have events downtown, especially on Brick Main, that we have up so nobody can just drive right through.
Yeah.
Right, we're flanking those with cars or trucks to make sure nobody can do that.
Right.
But there's ways that we do that. Sometimes you just install them, or you just twist and drop and bring them down. So we're looking at those, and that's something that we will look at, as we move forward with this plan.
Okay. So it's something that guys would try to help residents nearby figure out a way to solve something in the right of way if they had a unique situation.
Yeah, if people are trespassing over their property, we will definitely try to see what we can do to assist them.
Okay. I'm just yanking stuff out of. I mean, I like to try and solve things. So, but okay.
And I guess one last thing about something different, that beginning to work on the water issues down here, and when they're going to start with the swales and all that sort of stuff. When do you have a date when some of that work's going to start?
I'm hoping the fall, but again, that's predicated on Department of Emergency Management review. They're short-staffed, and the minute you submit, then you have to go through all the other jurisdictions, meaning not jurisdictions, but regulatory bodies, environmental, DEM, pretty much everybody that has, can put their finger on it. They're going to review it, and they're going to do requests for additional information. Right now, we're working on our cost benefit analysis, meaning that what is the amount of damages that occur prior to the project being approved versus what's going to be the cost benefit analysis after the fact. And there's different algorithms that you have to get to that 1.0. So we're working that out for Butler and Bessie. We're definitely above 1.0 on West 2nd Avenue. And the things that you use for that is, okay, if there's a flooding incident, how much is a hotel room? How much is there going to be damage for furniture? How much for property damage? There's so much stuff that goes into it. They just want to just pull your hair out. And that's why I'm is you have to go through that process, and it is just so frustrating. And even one of the things that they talked about was psychological damage. And we always make the joke, do you mean for staff or for the actual people that are experiencing this? Because the money is there for us to remediate, actual problems. And it's just a lot of red tape that we're having to go through to get these projects done. And I know the frustration on West 2nd Avenue, especially, they're like, listen, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And it just seems like nothing's getting done. But that's $1 million that's out there that I just cannot look away from, especially with the fact that we don't have that type of money in our reserves or on an annual basis to pay for that. So we're hoping in the fall we're able to go ahead and release these out for contracts. And I'm planning for, I'm working with the engineers right now on the price escalations too. So that's why I said last night, if you made it that far, when I'm doing the budget, that I'm counting on this to be not fully funded by the HMGP and not even look at our 25%, but look at 25% of what the cost is going to be in the fall. So we're going to have to dip into our reserves by about $600,000. We're at 1.9 now. But that's our savings account, which is great. We're at like 28, 29% for our reserves, and you want to be at like 20 to 22%. So I'll still be at that 20 to 22% by even hitting that $600,000 to pay for Butler, Bessie, and West 2nd Avenue.
Okay, Butler, Bessie, is that not including East Boulevard and
Magnolia and Third is included in that.
Magnolia? Yeah,
Magnolia and Third's included in that.
that's part of Bessie.
As the Bessie Basin area.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, so we're plugging away, and it's meeting after meeting after meeting, and we're just pushing through it.
Okay, well, thank you for the update. I was just curious what was happening.
No problem. And when you look at the agenda too, you can see on the very bottom of the agenda, we always include the project's update list, and you can see the dates of all the updates that we have and all the projects that we're currently working on. And we don't take a project off until it's finished. So Bessie, West 2nd Avenue, there, I've been on there for quite some time.
Okay, I'll look all the way. I'll read all the way to the end next time.
No problem.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, if you don't mind, Tanya, I'd like you to pass my phone number to Gloria through email. And if she ever has any questions or, wants to chat about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to talk with her about it too. Because she's one of the houses I didn't make it to when I was down there talking to all the different neighbors. So.
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks. Maybe we can come up with a solution that even works for you too, Gloria. If this one doesn't work out, we'll see.
I don't want to be misunderstood. I still love living in Windermere. As I said, I've lived here for decades and I respect everyone's opinion. So I just want you to know I was just, expressing my personal thoughts. So I appreciate all of your kindness.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Again, there's some things that we can see and there's some things that we don't see. We can drive around all day long, whether I'm there from 8 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. But there's things that you see on the weekends or times that I'm not there. So again, you see something, say something. If there's a pothole, if there's, if there's, a tree covering up a sign, It's always great just to reach out to Tanya or I or somebody
Okay.
from admin and take care of it.
Okay, I will. Thank you. And
Just all
Mr.
day
Smith,
and
may
night.
I ask? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I
Oh
was
no,
just
I'm
gonna-
just go ahead.
I was just going to ask another question that's totally unrelated to Oakdale. Is that okay?
Yeah, this is open forum.
Oh, okay. Okay, and this is about 6th Avenue. And of course, because I live right on 6th Avenue, you know, there's been a tremendous increase in traffic on 6th Avenue over the years. But my specific question is, there used to be a sign when you were coming into Windermere from Conroy Windermere Road, when it turns into 6th Avenue, there used to be a sign that had certain weight limits for vehicles. And I have not seen that sign, and traffic such as semis and dump trucks and cement trucks and trucks transporting vehicles. I mean, huge, loud vehicles now routinely come down 6th Avenue. I don't know how they get around the roundabouts, but they are coming down 6th Avenue. And I was wondering, is that weight limit no longer in effect, or and nothing can be done, or you know what the situation is?
Yeah, the 10-ton weight limit is mostly for the bridge that goes over the canal. It all comes down to affordability. So if somebody's getting a car delivered, or you know, if there's a construction vehicle that needs to come in, or delivery truck, if we were to stop that semi, then we're gonna have to stop them on a side road, and or we would stop them on a main street, and that just backs up traffic even more. So it's more of a discretion thing than anything else. We have the highway patrol on some of these things, on getting special details in town. But there is a 10-ton weight limit that is on for the bridge. But again, if we were to pull them over, then we're just blocking traffic for quite some time. Again, it's that double-edged sword that we have to deal with.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering. Thank you for the information.
No problem. All right. If there's nothing else,
I don't think so. I had one more question, but it's left my head 3 times now, and I should have just written it down one of the 3 times, but I just kept forgetting.
just choose respond to it. Yeah, Tanya's gonna be taking my spot when I start my vacation after this meeting. So I'll be in tomorrow, Tanya, for to sign checks and stuff like that. But after that, I'm gonna be trying to enjoy my time.
Yeah, so we have about 6 days for me to get us into trouble.
I'm out of town, so I can't be blamed.
So are you going away, Robert, or is it a staycation?
No, we are going on a cruise.
Nice.
We leave on the 26th. Yeah, so Western Caribbean, Royal Caribbean cruise. So I'm definitely good. You know, getting to spend some time with the little ones. Brady was a little sick today. I was joking around with some of the staff. Oh yeah, it was like he was trying to audition for a reboot of The Exorcist. So I'll leave out the details. When I had to pick a summer camp today, let's just say I had probably about an hour and a half in my car cleaning.
Oh my God.
It was
terrible.
Yeah, bad, but he's like, he'll do it, and then he looks like he's fine. He'll be running around wanting to play. So it's concerning, but it's like, oh my gosh. But anyway,
0 to 60 with temperatures too. So that's been there, done that. So I have empathy for you.
My daughter did it on Mother's Day on the way to SeaWorld. I was like, thank you so much. The next time I was leaving Franklin and we were driving to Pittsburgh, which is about an hour and 45 minutes for us. And we got 40 minutes into the drive and she did it again. And we had to turn around. I'm like, oh my God. And I can't handle that at all. I can't stand the smell. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of the car. Honey, you deal with it. It's all daddy work. I was out of there.
What's good for me, it was, she goes to camp at Windermere Union. So it's right on Park Ridge Gotha. So it's a 10-minute drive to my house with the windows down.
Yeah.
But yeah, the car seats are in the wash and yeah. So
Yeah.
That's why I never had any children, just because of these stories.
We did an illegal drive home that day. We were 40 minutes from home. I'm like, strip her clothes off. I have garbage bags in the back of my van because I'm weird. I said, put everything in a garbage bag, and Dad, put her on your lap, put her on the seatbelt, and pretend it's the 1980s. We're going home. I was like, I don't even care. It was bad. I was like, nope, let a cop pull us over. We'll survive. No one saw us. And we told her, we got into town. We're like, duck, honey, duck. But luckily, they're not roads well traveled.
Incriminating